The last great samurai Sanada Yukimura explained. Sanada Yukimura, a name remembered as the last great samurai of the Warring States era. He stood against Tokugawa Ieyasu, who had unified Japan, and became a symbol of defiance and loyalty. With only a few thousand men, he challenged an army of over 100,000 and made history. Trained in strategy and courage by his father, Sanada Masayuki, Yukimura was raised in the mountains of Shinano, where he forged his warrior's heart. His legendary charge in the Siege of Osaka, dressed in red armor, became a symbol of honor, bravery, and beauty in battle. Even today, Yukimura is one of the most admired samurai, featured in games, anime, and movies. To many, he is the face of the true samurai spirit. He didn't follow power, he followed his belief, and that's why his legacy still inspires, centuries later. The birth of Yukimura, origins of a hero. As the age of Warring States neared its end, a boy was born who would defy history. His name was Sanada Genjiro Nobushige, later known as Sanada Yukimura. He was born in 1567, in what is now Nagano Prefecture. His father was the brilliant General Sanada Masayuki. His mother was the daughter of a samurai under Takeda Shingen. From birth, he carried the blood of warriors and strategists. As a child, Yukimura was taught not only how to wield a sword, but how to think, how to lead, and how to understand people. His father told him true strength lies not in force, but in wisdom and heart. Though the Sanada family ruled a small land, they survived through clever alliances and daring moves. This shaped Yukimura's idea of what it truly means to win. Not to conquer, but to protect. It was this spirit of loyalty, of strategy, of courage, that would one day make him the last great hero of the samurai age. Lessons from his father Sanada's strategy for survival. As Yukimura began his path as a samurai, no one influenced him more than his father, Sanada Masayuki. Masayuki was a master of strategy. He didn't just follow the strong, he made bold alliances, switched sides when needed, and kept the Sanada clan alive through wit, not brute force. His lessons were clear. You don't always have to win. Just don't lose. Survival is the hardest and most noble victory. At that time, the Sanada lands were surrounded by giants, the Uesugi, the Hojo, and the Tokugawa. Masayuki balanced them all with care, protecting his small domain. Like a skilled chess master, Yukimura grew up watching this. He learned that what looked like betrayal was often wisdom. The wisdom to protect one's people. And that, more than any sword skill, was the foundation of the loyalty and honor that Yukimura would become known for. Sekigahara and the father-son choice, a split in destiny. In the year 1600, a battle that would shape Japan's future began. The Battle of Sekigahara. It was Tokugawa Ieyasu's Eastern Army versus Ishida Mitsunari's Western Army. The Sanada family faced a fateful decision. Father Masayuki and second son Yukimura sided with the West. But Yukimura's older brother, Nobuyuki, chose the East. Why would a family split like this? It was a strategy so that no matter who won, the Sanada clan would survive. They chose separation to protect the future. Yukimura and Masayuki defended Ueda Castle with just a few thousand men. Yet they held off a massive Tokugawa force. Their brilliance and resilience stunned the nation. But Tokugawa won the war. Yukimura and his father were captured and exiled to Kudoyama, a remote village near Mount Koya. They didn't win, but they lived. And that choice gave Yukimura one last chance. A chance that would come in the final battle of his life. Exile in Kudoyama, resolve in silence. After the defeat at Sekigahara, Sanada Yukimura and his father Masayuki were exiled to Kudoyama, a quiet village at the foot of Mount Koya. It was a place far from war and politics. A silent corner of the world. Stripped of weapons and status, Yukimura was left only with time. But he didn't fall into despair. He played board games with his children, read books, and kept sharpening his mind, always preparing for the day he might return to battle. Inside him, the war had not ended. He questioned the new Japan being shaped by Tokugawa. Was it truly the future a samurai should accept? In 1611, his father Masayuki died quietly in Kudoyama, Yukimura mourned, but also sensed that his own moment was approaching. He would take up the sword once more. Not as a rebel, but as a hero, the final symbol of the samurai spirit. Return to battle. Yukimura rises in the Siege of Osaka. In 1614, the moment finally came. Opponents of the Tokugawa regime gathered at Osaka Castle. Under Toyotomi Hideyori, they prepared for war. And the Siege of Osaka began. Among them was a name long thought lost. Sanada Yukimura, breaking 14 years of silence in exile, returned to the battlefield. Tokugawa was powerful, but Yukimura felt no fear. He had accepted his fate. He would fight for loyalty, honor, and the beauty of a warrior's death. The Toyotomi welcomed him with open arms. Young samurai looked to him with admiration, saying, "This is what a true warrior looks like." Yukimura once said, "Entering Osaka Castle feels like viewing the cherry blossoms. A calm, poetic acceptance of the path ahead even if it led to death." And so, Sanada Yukimura returned. Not as a general, but as the final hero of the samurai age. The Sanada Maru Yukimura's brilliant defense. In the winter siege of Osaka, the Tokugawa army numbered 200,000. The Toyotomi side? Barely 100,000. The odds were against them. But Sanada Yukimura wasn't shaken. He created a miracle. He was given command of the south side of Osaka Castle, the weakest part of its defense. There, he built a small fortress of his own, the Sanada Maru. It used steep slopes, deep moats, and narrow paths to slow the enemy. Yukimura even predicted enemy movements, placing traps and hidden troops. When the Tokugawa attacked, they were repelled completely. Some soldiers whispered, "A demon guards that place." They feared the Sanada Maru so much, some refused to fight near it. Yukimura's name spread quickly. He was no longer just a loyal warrior. He was seen as a genius and a war god. Even in defense, he never backed down. That was the spirit of Sanada Yukimura. Red armor and the final charge. Yukimura's last battle. In 1615, the summer siege of Osaka began. Sanada Yukimura was ready for his final battle. He wore a suit of bright red armor. Not for protection, but for message. He wanted the world to know, "I will not run." His target? Tokugawa Ieyasu himself. With just a few hundred men, Yukimura charged directly at the shogun's command post. They broke through enemy lines again and again. It's said Yukimura came so close that Ieyasu considered taking his own life not once, but 3 times. Such was the fear, and the awe, of the Sanada charge. But no valor could stop the tide. One by one, his comrades fell. And at last, Yukimura, exhausted and wounded, collapsed on the battlefield. Yet even in death, he left something behind. Because that charge, that final stand, was not about victory, it was about staying true to everything he believed in. Yukimura's final words, the beauty of a warrior's end. On May 7, 1615, during the final moments of the summer siege of Osaka, Sanada Yukimura met his end. After a desperate charge toward Tokugawa Ieyasu's command post, he was wounded, exhausted, and unable to move. Near Yasui Shrine, an enemy soldier found him. And then, Yukimura is said to have spoken clearly. "I am Sanada Seiman no Suke Yukimura. I am finished. Take my head." He didn't run, didn't beg. He stood tall, even in defeat, choosing to die with the honor of a true warrior. Other tales say his final words were more quiet. "It seems my fate ends here. Strike me down with pride." We may never know exactly what he said. But in every version, one thing is clear. He never lost his pride. His death wasn't a failure. It was the final act of a man who stood by his beliefs and faced death with dignity. That is what made him a true samurai. Praised by the enemy, fear and respect for Yukimura. Sanada Yukimura's death did not mark the end of his story. It was the beginning of a legend. The man credited with slaying him, a Tokugawa retainer named Nishio Kusaku, did not boast of his victory. Instead, he is said to have remarked, "He was a fearsome yet noble warrior. Truly admirable, even as an enemy." Even Tokugawa generals paid tribute. Todo Takatora admitted that Yukimura's charge caused chaos in Ieyasu's camp, saying, "If he had pressed the attack just a little longer, we may not have won." There was no arrogance in their words. only respect for the enemy. Another Tokugawa commander, Ieyasu, reportedly said, "To face a man like Sanada in battle was a true test of fate." Even in defeat, Yukimura's name was honored. Seen as the last true samurai. Because he represented more than strength. He embodied courage, pride, and beauty, the very spirit of Bushido. And so, Sanada Yukimura lived on. Even in the hearts of those who fought against him. The legend lives on the spirit of Yukimura through the ages. Sanada Yukimura died in 1615. But his story didn't end there. During the Edo period, storytellers and writers celebrated him. As a hero of loyalty and courage, the finest soldier in Japan. He became a symbol of honor among the people. In the modern era, his legend grew even more. Novels, plays, films and later, video games and anime. All brought his image to new generations. He lives on, not as a conqueror, but as a man who stood for something greater. A warrior who chose conviction over survival. Why do people still admire him today? Perhaps because he was not the victor, but the one who faced impossible odds and never wavered. He resisted overwhelming power. He fought with pride. He died with dignity. And so, Sanada Yukimura became more than just a warrior. He became a symbol of the samurai spirit itself.